Hello, Star Wars Galaxy of Hero players. This is Andy Shorto. Today I'm going to be doing a video on this guy here, Emperor Palpatine, the Almighty Emperor. Bow to him. Yeah, so Omega his middle ability. But today I'm going to be talking about my thoughts and ideas for a rework for this guy. So let's begin. So far, he is one of the two characters, he's the only legendary character with no Zetas. He's at 7 max, 7 max. So I'm going to talk about my ideas and thoughts on how developers could produce that or, improve them. Maybe, this is also kind of my predictions and hopes, especially the bottom one. So yeah, let's get started. So, Lightning Strike deals special damage to target enemy and shock them for 3 turns. The only thing that a lot of the times that avoids is tenacity. If tenacity is up, this doesn't work. But then Palpatine gains 15% turn meter for each shocked enemy. That is great. One thing I would mind adding, since you're still shocking them, they could get stunned. And I'm saying maybe like a 40 to 50% chance to get, or maybe a 30 to 50% chance to get stunned with this basic. And be stunned just for 1 turn, not 2. Okay, so that would be an optional idea. This next ability deals special damage to all enemies with a 70% chance to stun them for 1 turn. I feel like that would be, should be 80% or 75% chance to stun them for 1 turn. Shocked enemies are stunned for 2 turns and have their shocks dispelled. One way to upgrade this with the Omega is maybe take the shock dispelling off. I know that's kind of, that might actually be too much, but at the same time, it might not be, to where you sit there and throw up a couple of basics, get some turn meter off of them, and then turn around and stun them all, and then let the hate flow. But also, if they did that, then someone will probably abuse that in the raid. But then again, almost every team's gets to the point where they abuse the raid, where they sit there and do 1 million damage to 39 million damage, etc., etc. So, yeah. But still, having a dark side ability like this, maybe not still shocking, or maybe not having the shocks dispelled might actually help the dark side out and help Emperor Palpatine actually, being very viable in the meta. Let the hate flow through. All allies gain offense up for 2 turns. Maybe this one could go up to a 3 turn. And all units lose 5% of their max health. Palpatine recovers health equal to 100%, 150% of the total amount lost. For each shocked enemy, gain 50% turn meter and refresh duration of shock for 2 turns. Usually the shock ability is up for 3 turns, so I don't know why it doesn't go to 3 turns. Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad. Emperor Palpatine, the Galactic Empire. So here's my thought on a Zeta for this, because this is definitely a Zeta worthwhile needed. So Empire and Sith allies gain 40% potency, 40% max health, and 40% offense. Jedi and Rebel ally enemies, not allies. I'm gonna weaken my own allies. Woo, enemies. Jedi and Rebel enemies have negative 40% potency, negative 40% crit chance, and negative 40% crit damage. So you trade the evasion for crit chance, crit damage. And then up top, you get the potency, health, and dang it, I can't think of what it was. Offense. So you add an extra bonus ability. It would make sense, because the Emperor is that all-powerful. He should have a very, very, powerful leadership ability. So that's why I say adding offense would be really nice. Whenever an Empire ally inflicts a debuff during their turn, they gain 20% turn meter. Whenever a Sith ally, and then the rest of it's the same. It's just the adding of all those other bonuses. But anyways, whenever an Empire ally inflicts a debuff during their turn, they gain 20% turn meter. And Sith inflicts, they recover 20% health, of their max health. Of course, that could be, gaining turn meter and max health, vice versa with the Zeta as well. Outside of that, I think for the most part, the top part adding going up to 40% on everything. Well, plus 40% allies, negative 40% enemies. And then adding offense for the plus, adding negative, and removing evasion for crit chance and crit damage. So that means they're going to do less damage, 40% less damage. So if they have a normal crit chance, crit damage mod set with the triangle as a crit damage mod, or a primary, then basically that negative 40 will eat that whole triangle out, plus some of the percentage of the other crit damage. So it makes your team more survivable. Plus, negative 40% crit chance means they won't crit as often as normal. So that would actually be really good against like Jedi and Rebel. Red Eye. I'm combining them together. That's what Luke and Old Ben were. Red Eye or whatever. Anyways, it would just allow, the Empire to have a viable leadership that actually really does well against rebels, because they're weakening the rebels with potency, and maybe here's another one. Maybe instead of potency, they could do negative 40% tenacity. So they're going to throw up more stuns, throw up more shocks, throw up more damage over time, etc., etc. That might even be even better. But at the same time, getting rid of your opponent's potency is also very viable too. So, or maybe it's potency, tenacity, and crit damage. That's an option. But yeah, and then the last one I want to talk about is Crackling Doom. At the end of each turn, Palpatine has... Sorry about that. At the end of his turns, Palpatine deals special damage to all shocked enemies, and deals special damage to all Jedi Rebel enemies. This damage can't defeat enemies, so it just leaves them at little to no health. So you have an ally that does, just a quick AoE base, or not AoE basic, but AoE basic. There you go. That's a new one. That's actually a new unique ability for a new character later on down the road. Have the basic ability be an AoE. Anyways, one thing I would add to this that would just make the Zeta by itself very, very viable, between meta and whatnot, is the Zeta stating, well, I'm sure adding some other bonuses and stuff wouldn't be too bad, but adding the Zeta saying that shock, any shock, or all the shocks cannot be dispelled as long as Palpatine is active. So he could be a leader or non-leader, as long as Palpatine is active. Well, this is unique anyways. As long as Palpatine is active, shock cannot be dispelled. Which means if you get Count Dooku in there and you get a good hit with his Force Lightning, where he stuns and shocks an enemy, that's adding to Palpatine's shock potential. Especially since you could start throwing around shock on a bunch of characters, and then you just use the let the hate flow and reset them all to 2. So, and plus he's going to get a ton of turn meter with, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75% turn meter, for all the shocked enemies. But for the most part, yeah, Palpatine having the ability to make it where shock cannot be dispelled. Yes, that also means that it's still cooled down after 2 to 3 turns, depending on, the setup of what shock is for a turn, or turn to 3 turns. But the cooldown will stay the same, but you cannot dispel it. Which means, you shock Rex. Rex can't just go and, cleanse that and give himself tenacity up. Which also shuts him down from getting tenacity up anyways. Which you would really want to fast Emperor Palpatine, because you're sitting there spreading shock around. Boom, 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 boom. And then your enemies are just sitting there trying to cleanse, but they can't. But then they can't get buffs because... So that might actually be a very viable counter to the meta with all the stealth spread, everything. The General Kenobi, Barriss Offee, It would be a good Zeta Barris counter, is because if you throw shock on one of the enemies and you have Zeta Barris, and that's like, well, now it's pointless because they can't gain health because of shock. So yeah, that right there would really change the meta. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Shaw, or Emperor Palpatine, these ideas for Emperor Palpatine Zeta. I really like the idea of his Zeta Crackling Doom. I think that would just change the game. That would be one of the big game changers outside of Emperor of the Galactic Empire Zeta as well. Like, even just those two and no change to the top three would still be a really good change. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And you guys have a wonderful day.